All right, so here it is, 12:45. So we'll get started. My name is Anna Marie Schecker, and I'm on staff at the IDA in Tucson. And I've been with the organization for about 3.5 years in a development philanthropy capacity. So I'm a little bit behind the scenes, but it's such a nice time of year for us right now. I look forward to seeing you all and interacting with you and the wonderful presentations that we have. So again, thanks so much for supporting IDA with all your donations and your interest. And it's because of you, the work is possible. So again, thanks so much for your support coming to the conference. You're in for a treat. You're here to hear from one of the pros in the business, Cindy Cassidy. Truly, it's such an honor to have her with us today. Cindy Luongo Cassidy is a leader within the Texas chapter of the International Dark Sky Association, a founding member of the Hill Country Alliance Night Sky team, president of the board for the Hays County Friends of the Night Sky, and a Hays County Master Naturalist. She was the key player in positioning the city of Dripping Springs to receive the prestigious International Dark Sky Community designation, the first in Texas, and has assisted numerous other International Dark Sky Place applications in Texas. In 2019, Cindy was awarded the Crawford Hunter Award, the highest honor that the International Dark Sky Association bestows to individuals who, during their lifetime, have contributed an extraordinary effort to light pollution abatement. Cindy lives in Driftwood, Texas, and was the creator and executive director of the hugely successful Texas Night Sky Festival. Again, such an honor to have her. And Cindy, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Anna Marie. I appreciate that great introduction. And I believe a few people who came in have not, didn't come in time to be asked to mute themselves. So if we get that done, that would be very helpful. And then I'm gonna, while y'all are doing that, I'm gonna share my screen with you and we'll get right into it because we've got a big job and not a lot of time. So hopefully everybody can see my screen at this point and be ready to go on our path to finding out how we put together a fun festival. We want to celebrate the night. The way that we're going to do this today is to first envision the festival that we want. We're going to say this is our end product, and then we're going to go back and look at specifics about what we do to get there. So here's our sample program. And I don't know if all of you are familiar enough with Zoom that if our pictures are in the way, you can, of the screen, you can go up to your top right and change the view that you see so that you don't have our pictures, overlaying the PowerPoint that I'm showing you. So let's get that person admitted. Okay, so we're going to walk through the event program that is for our sample festival. Now, notice that we have a very distinct look and feel for the program, and we've used that throughout the advertising for the program, for the whole festival, so that it was recognizable and people it would catch their eye. At the bottom of this, we note that we have 3 co-hosts, 3 nonprofits. What are you going to do? You've got to figure out where you're going to get your money, and that's one of the things to do, and we'll talk about that. So let's look inside. Let's get up. It doesn't want a page for me. Here we go. And inside our program, notice on the left that we are going to hold a raffle today. That was accomplished by having somebody local donate this beautiful work of art. But again, it helped us raise money to pay for it so that this could be a free festival. For those who joined a little bit late, I'll say we're looking at a sample festival, and then we're going to figure out, how do you plan this? What do you do? Notice we have a couple of advertisements at the bottom of the page. Got to have those sponsors. We have in the middle here, go to the concession window. Yes, we're going to have a small concession window, and we will be selling a few things there. Our table of contents lets people go directly to the place in the program that they need. So we've got the most important things in here. Things like the festival layout, the schedule for the stages, so that people know what is going on when. Let's move on into our book, our little program here. And what do I say? You've got to have that financial support to put together. So we have ads for some of our sponsors. We put in some beautiful pictures that catch their attention along the way so that they don't skip this page. We want them to stop and look at the ads. This is a very important informational page here, because what we have shows us the schedule for 3 big stages: the Mars stage, Jupiter stage, Storytellers TP. Yeah, we physically had a big teepee set up for the storytellers, and most of them were indigenous participants who told stories of the night sky. So on the bottom right, we all list the outdoor activities after sunset. So instead of having just telescopes and a star party, we had some other activities and talks there for them. If you go back a minute and look at the scheduling for the stages, notice that we were careful to schedule them so that each stage you have time to have people, a speaker speak and then stay for some questions, a little discussion with their audience, let the next speaker have time to set up whatever they need before they speak, that type of thing. So one stage was dedicated mostly to speakers, and one stage dedicated mostly to music, and the third TP area for our storytellers. In addition to our speakers, notice that we have schedules for photography awards, student art awards, and over on the right on the Jupiter stage, the poetry awards. We did contests out in the community, and they had displays of all of the results from the contest, and also gave awards at the festival. So again, this is our kind of big full festival, and we'll figure out how we planned it. Inside our program here, we have a local doctor who put together this short article about why dark sky is important. Then we talk about the Sunday event. The festival that we are using as our sample was mainly a Saturday event. The Sunday event was for night sky advocates, let them network, have a meal together, and have several speakers that were talking about things that were pertinent to those advocates to help them increase their advocacy. All right, let's move on. So it's definitely a multi-day event. Here, again, look, this beautiful work, but it's all ads. Gotta have those sponsors. Now we get to the middle of the book. This would be something that in the program would open up easily for people and show them the whole physical layout of the event area. Say we come in the main entrance, you're greeted, we have a welcome desk, you have volunteer check-in, the main host have their booth there. I'm gonna walk you first to the left, and we have a huge area of exhibits. We have one of the stages, and if we go out the door here, we have solar viewing during the day and arrows showing you where you go to the observing field after dark. Right beside that is a solar system walk, which is great fun, but needs a lot of space, and it goes on outside a ways too. If we go instead to the right, more exhibit space, the contest entries are on display, and we also have planetariums so that and you'll see where we run programs during the day. Let's come back out of that big room, and we're going to go down these steps, and we have the Jupiter stage and seating area to our right, the TP with the storytelling area kind of in the middle there. Lots of fun, very active activities that needed some space for kids to run and spread out. And then on the left, food. You know, you can't really have a festival and expect people to stay very long unless you have food. So that covers the physical layout of our festival. Let's move on, because we're on the time schedule here, and look at the planetarium schedules. That's here in the book. I want you to note that people could get planetarium tickets, that when they get there, they could look, we encourage them, and at the welcome table, we ask them to go ahead and look at that schedule, see when they wanted to come back to the planetariums, go and get their tickets so that they didn't waste time standing in line. They knew what time to come back, and they knew if they had a ticket, they could go right in at that time for the program that they chose. Great way to do that. So we had entertainer and speaker biographies, let people know a little bit about all the speakers, but also let them, if they don't know them ahead of time, it gives them a way to find out a little bit about them and decide who they want to go talk with. One of the programs that I love and that we have actually copyrighted is the dark sky patches. And actually at the, I'll tell you that you can still get those. We run those off of our IDA Texas website. But for the patches, we have the requirements here. And one of the things you have to pay attention to is that it depends on your age as to how many of these you do. Now, the requirements, you'll notice if you look at them closely, they drive you to our educational booths, or they drive you to listen to a specific speaker, or to go and do a particular activity. So they are driving that. The other patch has a little bit more of challenging items to it, but it also has a follow-up action that it's required, that they need to sit down and think about what are they going to do when they leave here to help reduce light pollution. So just fun patches that the kids love. Keep going. We still have ads, and we throw in a beautiful picture to help people be interested in hanging around that page a little longer, and all of our sponsors and partners. So that's our sample festival that we're going to look at. Now we get to plan it. Wow. Here, think about it. How are we going to plan this? Well, we're going to break into rooms, and Anna Marie is going to take care of getting you all situated in your rooms. But in each room, what you're going to do is you are going to need to consider, if you're in charge of one of these specific areas, what do you do? What do you need to think about? Are we ready? Okay, you will have about 10 minutes in your breakout room. Y'all can converse with each other, decide what do you need to think about if you are in charge of this particular part of the festival. After 10 minutes, we'll bring you back, and then each group will have about 1.5 minutes to give some of the high points, and then we'll have another minute or so for general discussion on that. And we'll wrap up. That'll take care of our 45 minutes here. So Anna Marie, let me stop sharing and turn it back over to you to get us into our breakout rooms.
Okay.
We're going to talk about each of these areas. So thank you for hanging in there with us. And we're going to touch base with each of these areas. There were a couple of breakout rooms that did not have discussions, were not filled, but we'll just talk about them as a group. So what about overall management? Those of you who were in that breakout room can unmute yourselves, or if you have a spokesperson who's going to say some of the items, go ahead and share some of your thoughts about what you would need to consider if you were in charge of the overall management.
I'll jump in since I talked most of the time in there, but I wish we could have extended it several more minutes and stuff because we're really generating some good ideas. First, the program, Cindy, that you have, I think we're all in awe of the work and organization that took place. And what struck me, and I think our group, was the network and the relationships that you all have built in order to get that diversity of so many aspects of a program. So I think our first priority is in your own local community. What resources, what volunteers, what interest you have, start with that and build your organizational group. And the big word, of course, people who will actually commit to doing those jobs is obvious and huge. And we were just starting to go around to the different participants, and we didn't get around to everybody, but it already generated very interesting ideas, like with the gentleman from Massachusetts. The first thing that they were thinking about was just to start with a stargazing event in the night, and that would be the centerpiece, and start with that. The gentleman from Venezuela, they're doing so much with dark sky efforts and bird migratory issues and that kind of thing. So right there, and I wish we could have gone around to everybody, you could start seeing their different priorities come out. So I think seeing what that priority of what you want to do, and then develop your relationships, your network, and see what talent base you have. Go slow to go fast.
Yes.
And build upon that. So
I think y'all hit the nail on the head in that you've got to determine your scope. You've got to determine what you and your, people that can help you, what y'all can handle. And determine that scope right up front. That sets the stage for almost everything else. You're exactly right. Good. We have time I'm sorry we have such a compressed time. But we have time for maybe, one more thought if you wanted to throw anything in before we move to our next.
We had Leanne and April who didn't get to speak up, so maybe they have some additional.
Or anybody who wasn't in that particular breakout room. If you have something here that you want to throw in, it's okay. We can add it.
No, I think I really just concur with the group. This is Leanne, and finding those groups that will kind of come together for the same purpose of protecting the night. For my particular part of Florida, we do have a good bit of interest in astronomy and star parties. but
Mhm.
we don't see a lot of collaboration. But I think getting out there and talking with like the Audubon societies, some of the different environmental groups is a good way to kind of pull resources
Excellent.
for an
And
event
Michael
like that.
Barton raised his hand. Michael, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, I do. One of the things that is has become more widespread is a lot of this handheld illuminated technology. I toured a show for 20 years called Luma that was all done in the dark, played the Miller Outdoor Theater. And there's more of these handheld illuminated, waving them around in the dark kind of things, which gives people and the kids an opportunity to play in the dark. Most
That's,
kids
yeah, fun thing to do. And one thing that y'all have kind of hinted at, I wanted to make sure people understood that every single, where you were talking about bringing in other people that had similar message or their message included something to that was important about reducing light pollution. Every single exhibitor, nobody was allowed to exhibit unless they had something at their station that was pertinent to the theme, that was pertinent to being able to celebrate the night, take better care of our plants and animals because of reducing light pollution, or whatever. It had to connect with the theme. Okay, let's move on to one of our next groups. Did we have, let's see, did we have, I don't think we had anybody in the partners, sponsors, and exhibitors group, but I will mention there that we, again, you've got to be able to have keep all these contact lists and go out and get the exhibitors that can come and have something connected to this. All right, so sometimes we had sponsors who wanted to participate, but they didn't have a connection. And we say, you can sponsor a stage, you can, have your name there, but unless you had something physical and a display or activity that connected with the theme, then they did not get to exhibit. All right, moving to our next one. Let's check our time. I'm always want to keep us, we only have about 10 more minutes. Can y'all believe this?
I do have,
Anybody want to say anything about the speakers, entertainers, and contest?
well, I just have a question about speakers and along with sponsors as well. For the funding to go to like reserve a place to have the festival and everything, like the upfront costs, would you do that out of your pocket and then later try to find sponsors to support it? Or do you find the sponsors first? And then do you pay the speakers as well? Or is it more of they are interested in speaking?
We had a combination. Actually, we got one of our host partners provided the venue free of service. And that was huge. So yes, you do have to have a venue where you can do it. And if we had, the first year when we had no money starting out and no record of having a festival, we had to set some dates and amounts of money that we had to have by certain dates to be able to keep going. So that was definitely a consideration. Good point. So things like contests, etc., do have to start very early, and you have to get that budget planning going. All right. Any thoughts about the educational activities, patch program, and sky observing from that group you want to share?
Stephen Gray, you want to summarize?
Yeah, 1 second there. Sorry, I was find the mute button. Yeah, so we had quite an interesting discussion around sort of activities, sort of hands-on activities for kids and families. So the other Stephen in the room, he had suggested lighting demos where you can look at the different types of shielding and things onto lights. And for kids, an activity called Design Your Own Light Shield, where they would maybe have a light where they could then have some craft materials, cardboard, things like that, to build a shield around the light to show how it's possible to have lighting but still have it.
Yes, that's a
so it's
great
really,
activity. We had a huge area doing that. Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with regards planetarium sessions, some I do here in Scotland, but we had discussed sort of accessibility sessions, whether it's an autism friendly session where you would have the volume in the planetarium lowered and you would have less people in, and accessibility for wheelchair users and things like that as well. The other consideration is possibly if you need any sort of sign language, that type of stuff. But yeah, so it was just sort of a general look at some activities, some of the educational stuff that you could do, whether it's within planetariums where we would be discussing or simulating light pollution, showing the difference between a light polluted sky and a naturally dark sky.
Yes.
Yeah, so and just some other hands-on activities, and obviously your standard things like having people education, sessions on telescopes,
Right.
and all that type of stuff as well.
Great list, Stephen. One of the things that we did that some people, said, why do you need it spread out so much? We basically had a separate booth for what turns out to be each of the 5 principles, and really focused in on that particular piece of light pollution and how to prevent it and what people should do. And it drove that home extremely well so that they could understand it, that particular, what turns out to be the principles. We were doing this before the 5 principles came out. So we had different names, but okay. We're down to 5 minutes. Let's run ahead with, I think food, silent auction, concessions are things that y'all can figure out a little bit more easily where, you go and get those trucks, get those people to handle that for you. Our silent auction was huge in helping to fund the event. Marketing and the festival program, any thoughts from that group? That may have been one of the ones that we didn't feel. So let's look at, what about site management, overnight campers, logistics, volunteers?
If I could just ask a question on the marketing.
Sure, let's go back to that one.
Cindy, I assume, but you communicated to astronomy clubs throughout Texas, or how did you reach out to them?
Well, we had, yes, we did. We communicated not just astronomy clubs. We did a lot of general advertising and to master naturalists all over the state, to, obviously in newspapers and area magazines, that type of thing. We got in, I don't know if you're familiar with a magazine called Texas Highways, but statewide magazines, one of them picked us up as the event of the month that they recommended. And so we had a lot of statewide publicity. Unfortunately, or I don't know, it's tough for, say, astronomy clubs that are 600 or 700 miles away to bring their equipment and set up but we had several area clubs that did bring equipment and set up. But people, we had people from all over the state and from out of state that came. Any other questions? We've got just a few more minutes. What I am going to do is go ahead and I'm going to put a table that talks about some of the things that you need to think about with each of these pieces of a festival. I want you to have that. And I know Betty Maya said she would put it in one of the a storage place and send out a link to it. So that will be available. She'll take care of that. That will give you things to think about. But again, you know, and I've got it as a third point here, define your scope. But you do need to start early, build that team, define your scope, and have a great time. Those first three, you guys hit the nail on the head and talked about. Y'all were great. Those are things you must do. And if you take a piece of this and do that, then you may decide that's what your community, that's what's right for your community. You may decide you want to add some pieces through the years.
Cindy.
But do have a great time. Have a great time. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
Could
so
I
that
ask a
can go-
question?
Yes, let me go over on and check the chat also. Anna Marie, you may, have there been some questions that I need to address? Okay.
Why don't we hear from?
I don't see any there. Yeah, you can go ahead and ask a question. And if there's anybody else that has one, raise your hand and we'll get to you. Go ahead.
Marnie, did you want to unmute yourself?
No, I didn't know you were talking to me. I was just wondering about the weather and what kind of contingencies, or I don't know.
That's absolutely one of the things that you've got to take into consideration. The venue we were very fortunate. We had 160 some thousand square feet of covered space to run almost that entire event. The only things that were contingent upon the weather were the outside portions of it. And you know, one year when we had some clouds, our attendance dropped off, which is frustrating because we had all day with fabulous speakers and music and fun things to do. And people said, oh my goodness, there's some clouds. Are you doing this? But a lot of people, thousands of people still came. We also had a plan for during the evening when we would have had the stargazing. We had actually, y'all all know Betty Maya. Betty Maya did a talk indoors about how to do night sky photography. What better fun thing to do? And we had some activities going on for kids at that time too. So yeah, we just kept some activities going and ran an extra speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all for being here. Anna Marie, it's up to you. We've hit our 45-minute time. Do we need to wrap it up?
We do, but would you please address Madeline's question in the chat? She said, will the program be available for us as a resource for later? Or how can people see that program? Is it available on the web or?
Oh, you mean our program that I put together for the festival?
Yeah, for Texas.
Or this program?
The
No,
Texas Night Sky one.
Say again?
The Texas Night Sky program.
Oh, the physical program? It's so big. I'm not sure. we've got a lot of information about it on our Texas Night Sky Festival website. If you go to TX, I'll type that into the chat. I'll give you txnsf.org. If you go there, and there's a lot of other information. Watch our movie first. This was fun. But go over and click on Texas Night Sky Festival. There's a lot of information about things we did at the festival and the details of each piece of it and things that we worked on that can be a great start for a project plan will be in this table that Betty Meyer's gonna share the file with y'all.
And then just to reiterate, Cindy, how many years did it take you to get a festival to be that size?
One.
1 year to plan it?
It had been in my head a while, and I actually thought that if I did it, I would be okay and get it out of my head and just do one and I'd be fine. And then people said, when are you doing it again? Let's go. It was so much fun. We loved it.
Sure. So how many years has it been going?
I've done 3 and I thought I was going to be doing another, but I'm working to get I thought I had an organization that was going to do another and they went kaflooey on me. And I'm working to get a different organization in a different part of the state to take over, and I can coach them and help them with it and bring in some other organizations that we've worked with.
Great, good. Yeah, that's a huge lift to do that. So it's smart that you're coaching someone and handing it over. So because it looks like a lot of fun. So we hope it lives
It's a
on.
fabulous, I personally think it's a fabulous festival.
Looks like it. Awesome. Well, everybody, we're going to wrap up. So thank you so much for participating. Really value your participation, and we hope that you'll go forward and have your own festivals and keep us in mind for support. Again, IDA provides brochures and other support. So reach out to IDA for those materials. And yeah, I think that'll be it. The recording of this will be available, later next week. So with that, thank you so much, Cindy, for all your years of experience and your hard work and your presentation today. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, Anna Marie. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Much.